Magic ball from Bergkamp to Patrick Vieira! The captain fittingly gets the goal.
Hello people, welcome to the show. This is your host Pranav, aka Nihilistic Goner on Twitter. Thanks for tuning in.
Finally, The Rock has come back!
Like Rock says, finally it is. Hey guys, welcome to the podcast once again. Finally it is. It's been a long time. It's been a long time since I recorded myself, recorded my voice for that matter. I've been wanting to do I've been wanting to do a podcast since the pandemic days, but I just was so lazy. I just couldn't properly execute it. But a big shout out to my Twitter mutuals, those amazing people. You guys deserve a lot of good things in your life. A couple of weeks back, I tweeted this idea of starting an Arsenal themed podcast, and the replies and the comments were truly wholesome. They were motivating. They were like very positive, and uh, a big shout out to you guys. Because of you, I just decided to put effort in recording this podcast. In case if you aren't following me on Twitter, do drop a follow to @Will Sharma. My username is Nihilistic Gunnar. Yes. A couple of pointers before I start this podcast. Actually, these pointers are so important as it is the start of many more podcasts to come in the future, hopefully. Fingers crossed. I'm very, very new to this whole podcasting. I've never recorded a podcast in my life. I've never recorded myself talking for that matter. So, that is one thing. So in case if the podcast is not up to the quality standards that you're expecting, I apologize, truly apologize. I'll try to improve it better with upcoming podcasts. Also with my hectic schedule and work and the other things, I don't usually get much time. So whatever you are getting is like the candid and filtered version of me rambling about Arsenal or anything for that matter. So this is gonna be fairly candid and fairly unedited. So please feel free to drop your comments. Please feel free to call me an idiot. Please feel free to call that I'm wrong. I'm open to learning. I'm not an expert. I'm a fan just like any of you. I just represent the fan base. So yeah, that is one disclaimer. And another disclaimer is this is mostly going to be an audio only podcast as of now, because as it requires less editing effort. But with time, and if in case if people do tune in, and by any chance if this does get any sort of numbers, it moves some numbers, I'll try to make it a video version as well. I also have plans to invite my friends. I also have plans to invite some of my mutuals and do some collaborative efforts in the future episodes. So please watch out for that. So yeah, that's the pointers that I wanted to bring it right away. And one more thing, a lot of people know me. If you have tuned in, I'm assuming that a lot of people know me. Some of you know me in and out. Some of you know me as an Arsenal fan. Some of you know me as a random guy from football Twitter, or some random social media guy. I think I ought to introduce myself to the followers who have no idea who I am. So, and I think I'm also obliged to say the story of how I became an Arsenal fan, so that everyone can get to know the story. It's a fun story actually. I'm sure many people from India would relate to this. By the way, the podcast name is the TN2N5 Show. It was also my FPL team name a couple of seasons back, till I decided to stop playing FPL once and for all. For those who are wondering what this name specifies, TN means Tamil Nadu. That is the place where I'm living. That is the place where I hail from. It's a part of southern India, and it's a state of southern part of India. And N5 is obviously the famous postal code. If you're an Arsenal fan, that doesn't need explaining. So I'll make this story real quick. I started supporting Arsenal technically from 2001 and 2002. So it's been almost 2 decades with Arsenal. This is how the story goes actually. My uncle used to get a lot of tech magazines, and in one of those editions, a demo CD of FIFA 2001 came as a supplement. Me and my elder brother were so ecstatic, so we straight away went to our cousin's home and started playing. And the funny part of the story is there were only 2 playable teams in FIFA 2001. One was Manchester United and one was Arsenal. And the thing is, I straight away liked the yellow color kit that the game had of Arsenal. That was one reason, but the other reason was obviously Thierry Henry. Not only the game actually, so even in our school buses and even our school vans, like all the students discuss, the football playing students discuss about Thierry Henry and his heroics. So I decided to get a glimpse of how he plays and how does he look. So I still remember watching this one match, like Thierry Henry would get hit on his face and his mouth would start bleeding. So, but after going to the sidelines, he'd come back in and score a brace, and he would win that match for Arsenal. I don't remember which match exactly was this, but watching how he did that, watching how he managed to come back after bleeding, that was kind of a big deal, and that was very surprising and fascinating to watch as a young guy like me. So that is how I got into Arsenal. Like that was like one of my earliest core memories that I have for watching Arsenal of those times. And obviously the Wenger kind of made it. Even though the FIFA and Thierry Henry get credit for like introducing Arsenal to me, it's actually Wenger who made me fall in love with not only the team but made me fall in love with the sport itself. Like the patterns of play Wenger's teams used to play, like they were like pure. That's the sport in its purest form. That's football in its purest form. The quick passes, the quick 1-2s, the transition game, like just everything was so beautiful. Like, yeah, that got me hooked properly. And then with time, like Arsenal slowly became my weekend routines. It slowly became my my lifestyle routine. Yeah, and then eventually it became an important aspect of my life in general. I always watch us play, like whether we win or not. I mean, it's been more than 20 years since we last won the league, but that hasn't stopped me from watching Arsenal. That hasn't stopped me from rooting for Arsenal. Even when there is no hope, I still look forward to the game, and I still hope for that 1% chance. Still hope for miracles. Like, that's the beauty of football, isn't it? Like, I just hope that all this pain, all the sufferings, all the yearning, all the longings will reward me and all the other beautiful corners one day. There will be light at the end of the tunnel, guys. Let's hope for that. Anyways, enough with the past stuff. Let's get straight into our today's episode. In today's episode, I'm primarily going to focus on discussing or giving my thoughts and opinions of the struggles that we are facing this season, the changes that we embraced relative to the past season, and basically what went wrong. I'll give a quick reminder of how we did the setup last season. It was Ramsdale on goal, not Raya. It was Ramsdale, Gabriel, Saliba, and White. forming the first line of defense, and then Zini tucking in from the left back role in midfield, like Zini and Partey forming the midfield pivot, and then in front of them it was Xhaka and Odegaard. So basically Xhaka, Odegaard, Zinchenko and Partey forming a box midfield in the middle of the pitch. And then in front of them were the usual suspects of Martinelli, Jesus and Saka. I mean, the reason why we were so successful last season, in my opinion, is down to 3 or 4 people. I mean, the first one is obviously Zinchenko. I know a lot of people hate him because of his play style. A lot of you all hate him because of his social media posts or political angle, etc. I'm not going to get into that. I tell you why I like Zinchenko and his role that helped us last season. He acted as a quintessential quarterback in our midfield. He took care of the ball. He demanded the ball like a prime playmaker. He demanded the ball which freed the midfielders that were around him. He was so good at making those crisp line breakers. He was so good at carrying to the next lines. He was good at making those early crosses from half spaces. He was so good. I mean, like Arteta needed a player like that to establish his system in this football club. He needed a player like Gabriel Jesus. He needed a player like Zinchenko, mainly to establish what he wanted to play, how he wanted to play. So Zinchenko was very influential in every aspect of play. Obviously, there were games like Liverpool where you get a lot of aerial balls from Van Dijk, Alisson, Henderson. On those games, Arteta cleverly took out Zinchenko and played Tomiyasu. So it's a game of poker. But Zinchenko's role as a ball carrier, as a primary ball handler, it kind of helped us progress the ball better and faster. His line breakers were very helpful. I mean, the second person who was very instrumental in our play. I mean, every player. I mean, there's no any bias in my take, but everyone played their part in helping us have a better season. But in my opinion, these were the players that helped us a lot. Granit Xhaka on the left 8 role, or the box-to-box role, I would say. So I was pretty surprised when Arteta deployed Xhaka as a left 8, because I didn't think that he had it in him to do that role because of his lack of pace or lack of recovery pace or something. But it was quite surprising when he did that role, because he made those right third man runs. He gave a good defensive cover to that left side for both Martinelli and Zinchenko when needed, but he also ventured forward when needed. So he found a perfect balance, just like Montreal of the old, right? I like Nacho Montreal a lot because throughout his tenure, he had a balance in his game. He knew when to make those overlaps. He knew when to track back and support the defenders. Just like that, Xhaka knew when to make those third man runs. He also knew when to stay back and provide a body to defense. Xhaka was so instrumental in covering that left hand side, and then of course Jesus, being a center of attraction, he attracted defenders. His footwork was amazing. He allowed Saka and Martinelli to go forward. So these 3 people, in my opinion, were so instrumental for last season's success. Success as in, like, it was our first, I would say, good season in a while. So special credit to these people. But somehow we crumbled during the crunch time of the season, but that's a different whole new story. But now, compared to that, let's check the changes we embraced this season. The We changed the goalkeeper, of course. We went from Ramsdale to Raya. We replaced Xhaka with Havertz. Yes, and then that's pretty much it, actually. And yeah, and also we added Rice in place of Partey. Now, I'll discuss each of these changes one by one and give my thoughts on it. The first one being Ramsdale Raya situation. So, it's still a hard discourse even on social. It's still a hard discourse in social media. Some people are Team Ramsdale. Some people support Raya. For me, I support both of them. In my opinion, this was a position that never needed any changes or tampering. I'll tell you why. Because I kind of had the trust in Ramsdale when he was playing for Sheffield United. I saw a game versus Liverpool where Liverpool absolutely smashed Sheffield, but he caught my attention with his shot-stopping abilities. So when we signed Ramsdale initially, what I really thought was this dude has the age on his side. He has the shot-stopping abilities, but what I was really concerned about was his ability to play out from the back, his ability with the foot. But with time, he proved me wrong that he can do that also effectively with his. I love his quick. I love his quick releases. I love his flat passes to the center of the midfield. I love his pings to the fullbacks. Those are all fine. So even though he had his odd errors, even though he had his odd concentration lapses and stuff like that, I was quite convinced with Ramsdale being our number one, because I thought he would, with time and with volume of games, he would improve that aspect. Because the reason for my trust is, we see his games, he always had spectacular games. For example, he had a spectacular game versus Liverpool, he had a spectacular game versus Spurs. The problem was the consistency. The problem was like whether those spectacular games come in streaks or not, whether he has 4 spectacular games or not. That is what happens. Like, by the way, like, I'm not a goalkeeping expert, and I do know for a fact that every goalkeeper does mistake. It's just that people like Alisson, Courtois are regarded as the top pile, because regarded as one of the best, or like regarded as the gold tier goalkeepers, because they make mistakes less often compared to the other folks. But every goalkeeper make mistakes. Let's be very honest about it. They aren't robots. They aren't falas, especially the modern keepers, because they are asked to do so many things. They are asked to get involved in the build-up. They are asked to play out from the back. They're also asked to like do the shot-stopping stuff. So it's just too much workload on them. So I kind of get that every goalkeeper makes mistakes. So I was okay with Ramsdale doing those mistakes. I was just hoping that the streak of good game. I was just hoping that those good games, those great games, come in streaks. But I was okay with it. This Raya transfer rumor took me by surprise. But deep down, I thought that it was one of those Inaki, the goalkeeping coach's signings. By the way, I'm not a big fan of Inaki Sana, because I'll tell you why. Because some of the goalkeepers he has suggested for the club in the past few years, like the people like Renasan, Matt Ryan, Matt Turner, it's been an absolute musical chair. Like, I'm not sure whether the scouting team gets involved or whether whether his suggestion is the final. I'm not sure what the thing is, but we haven't had a proper number 2, let alone be a proper number 1 in like ages. I know Turner was good, but he's still not Arsenal level. Let's be honest. I like him. I want him to do well at Nottingham for us, but let's be honest, he's not Arsenal level. If I look at it, if we are gonna upgrade on Ramsdale, now that we were in the title race last season, now that we have experienced the title race last season, if we have to upgrade, we have to upgrade to someone of gold tier category. But we have to scout that guy. Like going from Ramsdale to Raya feels like a very goalkeeping coach kind of decision, or like a very safe kind of decision. But make no mistake, I like both of them. I want both of them to do well. Both of them are Premier League quality keepers. Make no mistake about it. But if we have to upgrade from Ramsdale to the next level, it should be someone from the next level. And right now, Raya is not that, in my honest opinion, because the statistics also reflect the same. That giveaway versus Lens, that positioning for the Chelsea grass. I mean, someone might argue his one-on-one ability, the goal we considered as a Spurs, etc. Like, if you look at the statistic, he has the least save percentage. He has the, even for the XG stat, he is the least. But hey, but the decision is done. So I think I have to make peace with it, whether I like it or not, whether we like it or not. I'm sure the fans of Raya are absolutely loathing me right now, but that's just my take. Please feel free to drop comments. Now with Ramsdale, I can understand if he wants to leave. I think no one should hate him if he wants to leave, because a goalkeeper needs game time. Game time is the most important thing for any goalkeeper. Also, Euros is coming up, and though I'm pretty sure that Southgate would never pick Ramsdale over Pickford, even if Ramsdale is consistently playing. Because for a guy who consistently picks Calvin Phillips, who never picks people like James Ward-Prowse, I'm pretty sure he will not give the number one spot to Ramsdale, even if Ramsdale is doing absolutely fine, because Southgate clearly has favorites. So we have talked about the goalkeeping situation. That is one aspect. So now we have talked about the goalkeeping situation. That is one change we embraced. And then the second change is going from Xhaka to Havertz. When we signed Havertz, there was this debate on where he was going to play, because throughout his tenure, he has played in multiple positions. So there was this argument on whether he's going to play as Jesus' backup or whether he's going to play in midfield. I mean, I've been following his career from the start. In my opinion, he's best suited in the second line of offense. I will not like put my money on him leading the line, because even though he makes great runs, even though he has a great aerial prowess and all that, I believe that he has something to offer with his on the ball abilities. So because he started as a right midfielder kind of role, and then kind of moved into the right wing, right off space, that role, and then he eventually ended up as the shadow striker for Bayer Leverkusen. So when the world was shut and due to pandemic, and when Bundesliga opened, everyone kind of saw what he was and what kind of player he was. That is why he went for a lot of money to Chelsea. During his Chelsea tenure, like, as I also have a soft corner for German national team. So throughout his Chelsea career, I kind of had a notion that he's being misused. He was also played all around the pitch. At the same time, he also didn't do enough on most of the games. He missed a lot of chances and stuff like that. But the talent was surely there. So that is why I was okay with us signing him, even though I don't agree with the amount we paid for him. But I was kind of okay with him. I was okay with the signing. I mean, but again, after signing him, he kind of started up top in the Community Shield, but then he eventually became the left hand. He became a midfielder. That is the role which Xhaka played last season. Now, there are a lot of differences between Xhaka and Havertz. Havertz is naturally offensive-minded player, while Xhaka is like a defensive instinct player. So Havertz is someone who is always waiting to make that run, but he doesn't come and contribute to defense that much compared to Xhaka. in my opinion. Even though he does win a lot of 50-50s and aerial balls, I still feel that the presence of Xhaka in the left face, the presence of the defensive work rate that Xhaka puts as a box-to-box midfielder is not something I get from Havertz. I mean, at least not yet. I mean, especially in the initial games where he struggled to find confidence, where he was like just roaming randomly. He was not even making touches. He was not even making more than one touch, if you can recall that. He was always making those quick layups, and then he was making those runs, which no one found it, by the way. So that was one change, but eventually he got gelled into the system. He scored some important goals. He made an important assist for Martinelli's winner versus City, but I still demand a lot more from him, especially both on the offensive as well as the defensive front. For the defensive front, I feel that he should strike a balance between making those runs as well as dropping back and helping the defenders, helping Zinchenko, and then as well as taking care of the ball. Sometimes when things aren't working on the right hand side, when Odegaard is not having his greatest game, when Odegaard is not having a great game, I think it's the responsibility of Havertz to take the ball, demand the ball more, and like give his put his playmaking skills to use. Because I know that he has his playmaking. I know for a fact that he is a good playmaker. He has it in him. It's just that in this system he is not being allowed to express that freely, if you can say that. But sometimes he just have to get that responsibility off from Odegaard and do that role instead of making those runs. That is one thing. That is my worst complaint. The second complaint is, of course, the defensive work rate and all that. But that role is still a work in progress. The amount of time Xhaka took to adapt to that left role and do that box-to-box role to absolute almost like the perfect box-to-box player, Havertz is still a work in progress. So, but I like him. I love him. Like, I just hope that he does well, and I just hope Arteta realizes the gaps that are being allowed on our left-hand side. So that needs to be filled. I mean, everyone is aware of the fact that Zinchenko is not a great at duels because he was a midfielder initially. He started his career as a midfielder, and all this fullback thing happened because of Arteta's suggestion. Now Pep himself is not playing an actual fullback in the fullback role, right? He's playing a centre back. So, but far as Zinchenko's abilities with the ball is definitely going to help us, but we just have to support him as the team. So it's not like it's not like I'm defending him. It's not like I'm shielding him from criticism or something. He deserves every bit of criticism he gets. But at the same time, we should also call out the teammates. They have the responsibility to support their teammates. Last season, Xhaka is yet another example. I know a lot of people don't like Xhaka because he makes those rash tackles and gets reds and etc. But if you look at him as a team player, when Tierney played as a conventional left back, whenever he made those overlapping runs, it was Xhaka who was there to defend him, that left side. Whenever Zinchenko underlapped, it was Xhaka and Martinelli who came to his help. So I feel Havertz also has that responsibility in this team. Whenever there is a counter or whenever there is an attack thing, Havertz also should drop deep faster and he should help the team a lot better. That's just my 2 cents on this Havertz matter. Then the next thing is, of course, the rise to Partey situation. Now, Partey is an interesting player because even though he is billed as a central defensive midfielder, he played a defensive role in Atletico Madrid side, just like any other Simeone player. But at Arsenal, he was allowed to roam. He was allowed to carry the ball. He was allowed to make those spread passes and everything. Declan Rice is an upgrade indeed, because Declan Rice is a player that I have always wanted. He's a complete midfielder. Like the way he carries the ball, some of the late finishers he did last season to help us. His passing, his pitch passes, everything. It was, 100 million sometimes felt like a bargain indeed. But like my one concern with Declan Rice is sometimes he just has to take that risk. He just has to make that one penetrating run. He just has to make that extra penetrating run. He just has to make that extra penetrating pass. He just has to make that one risky pass. Sometimes I feel that he's very conservative at times. He feels, I just think he trusts his teammates to do the thing, but when your teammates don't do it, you have to take that responsibility. So that is my only minor concern, but apart from that, he has been absolute amazing for us. One of the best midfielders we'll ever get to see play for us. Sure, he would have a great legacy. I'm sure he would become a future club captain, club legend, everything. But he can improve on those line breakers. If you see the difference, if you see that Jorginho doesn't have the ability to carry the ball because he's a proper register. He sits deep and dictates play. But the passes he gives, the line breakers he gives, sometimes become the game changers. Sometimes they create the most amazing chances. So Declan Rice has to improve on that front. But again, like having moved from a team like West Ham to Arsenal, that transition itself is supposed to take time. So I'm gonna give a free pass to Havertz, Rice, and Raya, all three of them, because all three of them are getting along with the players. They are still a work in progress. So basically, all the new changes that we embrace, they require time. That is one thing. I also have concerns with our bench strength, because now that Fabio Vieira is out injured, we lack creativity from bench. We don't have, when Odegaard has a bad game, I was saying that Havertz should step up and do his playmaking part. But when both of them are tired and both of them have bad games, we don't have inspiration from the bench. So I feel that we have to improve our bench strength. We have to have a solid backup plan for Saka. We have to have a solid backup for our midfield, because Saka is being played every game, and Martinelli is also who is not having his best season right now. We don't have inspiration from the bench, and for some reason Arteta doesn't seem to trust Nelson to do that backup role, so he hardly gets time. We have Emil Smith Rowe, of course, but he's also like not in his greatest shape of form. We need quality from the bench, to be very honest. We need someone who can come and change the game, who can create chances. That is one, and I'm not sure if we are going to trust Vieira to do that role for the long term. Really not sure about that. We also need defensive reinforcement, of course, because Tomiyasu is injury prone. So Zinchenko is also very injury prone, and Timber is also out. And we need someone to cover that base of the defense, and I'm sure that our recruitment team is looking into it. We also, and then the striker options, right? We were initially linked with Tony, but then that kind of went off. Now there are rumors of Blahovic, Boniface, and everything, but we also need a striker, because our top scorer is Saka, and our Gabriel Jesus, even though he does a lot of good work with the ball, his amazing footwork and everything, but both him and Nketiah, they need to do better in terms of scoring more goals. I would slightly forgive Gabriel Jesus because of the other things he does, but Nketiah, by nature, by his profile, he's a natural finisher. He's He's supposed to be our proper number 9. He's supposed to be a proper number 9, and for a proper number 9, he doesn't make the runs. He doesn't time his runs well. Sometimes he doesn't attack the post. So Jesus doesn't even make those runs, but Nketiah sometimes make those runs, but he doesn't time them properly. So we surely need to sell Nketiah, in my opinion. We need to sell him and upgrade, and we need to sell him and get a better striker, of course. That is one thing. So we needed a defender, we need a midfielder, we need a striker. I mean, of course, there's this whole situation with Thomas Partey where he's always unavailable. There were also some issues off the pitch. So I hope we get another defensive midfielder or a box-to-box midfielder that can support both Declan Rice and Jorginho. Or someone who can play that lefty 8 role to perfection, because right now we are playing Havertz in the lefty 8 role and Odegaard in the right role, but for the backups we don't have any reliable or quality backups for them. I'm not considering Emil Smith-Rowe for this because he's not being given game time, and it looks like we are gonna encash him for the sake of FFP. So right now we are playing Trossard in that left 8 role, which is not good, because Trossard is we are doing the same mistake Chelsea did with Havertz. We are playing Trossard all over the pitch sometimes. Sometimes we play him as false 9, sometimes we play him on the left 8 role, sometimes we bring him late in the game to do the left wing role. So we need to stick a proper offensive position to Trossard and get a midfielder who can do the left box-to-box role for Havertz backup. So we need to get 2 midfielders, 1 defender and 1 striker. I think these are the positions which need improvement, but I'm not sure if we're gonna hunt for these positions in the January market, but we have to back the team that we have right now. We are playing UCL for the first time in many years. I made a prediction at the start of the season that I kind of had this gut feeling that we will do better in UCL this season, but we might struggle in the league. So fortunately, we got a good draw in our hands. Porto is beatable in my opinion. If we do beat Porto, I just hope we make a very good UCL run and build on that. Usually in Wenger seasons, we start the league well. We start the league well. We do everything. Usually in Wenger's years, we start the season well. We are always in touching distance with the top team, we are always in the touching distance with the top team, whether it's 2 points or 4 points. But then once the UCL draw is made, we get drawn to Barcelona, we get drawn to Bayern Munich, and then that is the time of the season where injuries happen, and then that is the time where we topple from the top spot. But I hope this time we started toppling in the Christmas schedule itself. So I just hope that we learn from our mistakes. It's good that we toppled before. New Year. We can learn from this. We can strengthen any positions. We can using any loan signings if we want. I just hope we learn from the recent form. There is enough time after this FA Cup fixture, so I just hope Arteta studies all these flaws that our team currently has right now and works on them, fixes them. I mean, the one difference I find in this season is that we have a lot of control. We take care of the ball well, but we struggle to create proper openings. sometimes it gets so boring actually, because we keep on passing from left to right and left to right. It sometimes feels like a basketball, but not the right not the right. I mean, when I say it feels like basketball, it's not end to end. It's just that it's just the ball movement from left to right and right to left. uh, we have more possession on the center, but we are so conservative and we do not take enough risks on the final third. Sometimes someone has to take that risk, right? But I think everyone is so afraid to make that extra pass, take that risky pass. But I feel that we have to find a it's understandable that we don't make that risk because of the high line we play, like the lack of trust in defending transitions or whatnot. But sometimes we have to mix it up. Sometimes we have to make that extra pass or extra risk. Also, Saka and Martinelli. I mean, in general, our like movement feels like a choreographed dance move. Some of the passes are very so predictable, so it becomes easier to defend. So, like, for example, the link up between Odegaard, White, and Saka worked so well last season, but this season it became so predictable. It just becomes like a choreographed dance move. I mean, at the start of the episode, I told how I like Wenger ball, right? The thing with Wenger ball is like it's choreographed, but at the same time, it's not choreographed like this. It just dancers expressing themselves. Like it's no one can predict the next pass. Like no one can predict the link up of Wenger ball. I think we have to bring that level of uncertainty and unpredictability to our build-up play, because even last season we had this problem. We had this problem with predictability. Like Xhaka always plays the natural ball to Martinelli, and then him trying to take on, and then but uncertain. But in last season we moved the ball a bit faster. I think even when we had possession, we made the line breaker. We made that pass very fast in a fast manner, so that the chances were good. The chances created were good, but this season we struggled to create those deadly chances. I mean, the goals from open play start is very concerning, to be honest, and I hope Arteta introspects this. One more thing with the last season with Xhaka is like Xhaka to the telepathy between Xhaka and Jesus was so good. Sometimes he makes those amazing crosses from half spaces, or like those creative balls. Not only did he make those third man runs, but his playmaking was also good. He made those amazing passes to Jesus. He made those chances also. So if we had seen that chances created graphic, you would have seen Odegaard and Xhaka's name as well. So not only was he making those runs, but not only was he making those runs and helping the defense, he was also creating some good chances that resulted in goals. He was also creating chances. So that is what I expect from Havertz as well. Like I just want him to explore all sorts of play, not only make those runs as like not only being headers. I just want him to create those extra passes. I just want him to carry the ball a little longer. That is one thing. I hope he adds the sprinkle of Wenger ball to. When I mean Wenger ball, it's not like Wenger ball doesn't have any definition. What I basically mean is allowing players to express themselves and not have those usual routine passes and usual movements. That is what I wanted to see from this squad as well. So that's my rambling for the day. Thanks for tuning in again.